Looking for something to sing about on TV this week? One of Canada's most popular dramas goes the song and dance route. We solve the mystery of which one next on Brio TV, the podcast. By now, you've probably seen the promos for the Monday, March 25th episode of Murdoch Mysteries. The episode's titled, Why Is Everybody Singing? And it features the entire cast in an all-song and dance episode. Wait till you hear Murdoch himself, Yannick Bisson, harmonize with Dr. Julia Ogden, Helene Joy. 14 original songs were written by executive producer Paul Aiken and composed by Robert Carley, with titles such as He's Dead as He Can Be, Gotta Hang 'Em, You Get to Die First, and my favorite, the Brackenreid rouser, Bloody Hell. And here's a bonus. If you like the songs, the entire soundtrack, which includes a reorchestrated opening theme song, is being released in early April as Murdoch Mysteries, Why Is Everybody Singing? Here's something else worth singing about, the performance of Daniel Maslany as Detective Lewellyn Watts. Maslany joined the series in 2016, and he's been the sketchier counterpoint to Bisson's more buttoned-down Murdoch ever since. I get the story behind Maslany's addition to the series, plus his own route from Regina to series regular status. And yes, he is the brother of former Orphan Black star Tatiana Maslany. Now, here's my conversation with Daniel.
Hello.
Oh. Hello, Daniel.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good.
I apologize for the lighting. I've moved. I'm sitting directly under a pot light. And
Me too.
I know, but I look like I don't pay no attention to that man behind the curtain, right? I look like the Wizard of Oz. So
no, it's great.
I don't mean to be this dramatic.
It's good. It's excellent.
But lovely to meet you. Congratulations on, this must even surprise you, Daniel. How many seasons have you been on Murdoch Mysteries now?
This last season was 8.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure there are people listening who still think of you as the new kid.
I still do. I mean, it's 17 seasons of a show. I feel like I'm always going to be the new kid, even if it just goes on forever. Which is good because it has this history. The station house has this history, and Watts is coming into it kind of late in the game too. So it mirrors the same feeling that I kind of have of like, oh yeah, they've solved so many murders. Like they have so many stories in their database that Watts doesn't know about and that I wasn't around for. So yeah.
A pretty murderous town, Toronto, back years ago.
It was wild.
Now we're talking about, of course, the musical episode of Murdoch Mysteries. This extraordinary episode. I just watched the screener and really enjoyed it. So congratulations for that. That airs Monday. And it is a full-on musical. Like there's, 14 new songs or something. It's incredible, right?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, there had been rumors about a musical for many years. I started in season 10. Apparently that's when Paul Aiken first pitched the idea. Although he had it in his mind for a while, but first kind of pitched it. And over the years, it was apparently just they had to find the right timing. They had to find the right kind of characters to play off of each other and the right place in the story for everyone. Mm-hmm. And it all came together this season. And it's been a long time coming, and everybody was very excited.
And Paul is the one who co-authored a lot of the songs, right?
Yeah. Apparently, I'd like to hear his original demos because apparently he has like a wild range that needed to be like some of the songs needed to be like adjusted because he can just sing really, really high and really, really low. But yeah, it's amazing. I guess he wrote it kind of like as rock songs, and Rob Carley suggested he keep those same songs. And I'm just repeating everything I heard Paul saying in different but he keep those same songs and then just change the arrangement, because so at their core they're like rock songs for him.
Well, and what is Brackenreed's song?
Bloody Hell.
Bloody Hell. It's perfect. It's hilarious. Yeah. Let's set it up for folks. So basically what you're going to see on this episode, there's a shooting. Murdoch gets a phone call. He goes to investigate, and there's firecrackers, and all of a sudden it looks like he's been shot. He's in a coma. And from that point on, everything is the mystery of what happened to Murdoch is played out as a musical in this parallel world that's sort of ringing through his head, right?
Mm-hmm. It's so funny because you think about, if we were to do a musical episode of a murder mystery show, it would be, you'd want to do the most basic murder storyline and have everything be as simple as possible, and then they sing. But instead, Paul has crafted a justification for why they're singing, a world that makes sense for why they're singing. Like he is, and it's one of the more complex. Like Paul's known for his really complicated storylines. I've done quite a few of his episodes, and he's always just like strange, complicated things, lots of alternate kind of versions of stories and stuff. And this one is just as dense as any of his scripts. And it happens to be a musical. It's wild.
That's the beauty of it, is that it's 100% justified. I've read that Yannick Bisson, his reservations had been all along, well, a musical, how are we going to pull this off? It doesn't really, where do we? And yet, you're right. Paul has come up with this premise that actually is based in science. It's sort of a real thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a remarkable. Now, so you said you'd heard about this. There had been rumors and whispers. At what point this season, though, did you know this was going to happen?
Actually, we did a Christmas episode where we all sang a Christmas carol at the end of it. So we were all mic'd up and all singing. And I think it was the first time I'd ever sung on the show. I decided Watts didn't know the lyrics to the Christmas carol, so I was kind of mumbling. But on some level, I feel like that was our audition. And I remember Pete was on set, Peter Mitchell, and I kind of joked to him like, "Oh, this is like the closest we're ever going to get to that musical episode." And I was happy that Shanice was finally getting to sing because she's an amazing singer. Anyways, I was joking about it. He obviously knew it was happening at that point, didn't say anything. And then, I don't know, a little while later, I found out, it's actually happening this year.
He's a crafty, Peter Mitchell, we're talking about, the showrunner, executive producer of Murdoch Mysteries and several other shows. I actually messaged Peter and said, listen, I'm going to be talking to Daniel Maslany. Do you have any questions I should ask him? And he messaged back, ask him, is it fun being an actor?
That's a great Peter Mitchell impression. First off, it's like subtle. There's been a lot of great Peter Mitchell impressions that I've seen people do. That was a really good one.
Oh, thank you.
Voice too.
Yeah. Well, he's a man who knows words and how to use them with economy. Right.
Yes.
Brilliant character, brilliant showrunner, and I love this episode. But so you mentioned the Christmas one you were all asked to sing, but this looked to me like it was recorded in a studio, that the singing was very precise and full-throated. Was it recorded off the screen, off in another? Did you have to go to a sound stage and record this separately, or how did you do it?
Jono, the engineer and producer, he has a studio in his basement, and records everyone there. I think he's done quite a few musicals for Shaftesbury before, so lots of people go down there and record, and I think he records bands and stuff there. And what's amazing is I like to sing, and I started out when I was little in musicals and stuff, but I quickly realized that wasn't my skill set, singing and dancing. And then, we're suddenly in a studio recording these songs, and I have a duet with Shanice, and I'm singing, and it's kind of sounding okay. It sounded better at home. I was working on it so hard. And then he goes in and starts, it's like Melodyne or something, or it's some sort of program. He starts tuning all the notes I sang and showing me literally visually how far off I was with each note. Incredible what they can do to make me sound like I can sing.
Is this sort of like an auto-tune kind of a device, I guess? I mean, you can't, it just sounds better. I mean, even professional singers use this. So
sure.
it all sounds pretty good. And you do it in character, which is fun. And so Daniel, walk me through your career, and just, you arrive with this character pretty fully formed, as I see it, on Murdoch. Detective Lewellyn Watts. Is he based on anybody? Where did you come up with this guy?
When you audition for something, you get like a character breakdown. So they'll do their best to describe sort of what they're looking for. And this one referenced Columbo, which I hadn't like seen a lot of Columbo. I mean, I probably hadn't seen any Columbo. Anyways, I looked up some clips. But, when you're auditioning for something, especially TV, it's like fast turnaround. I was shooting something else at the time. It was like I watched a few clips of Columbo, and then, of course, it goes through the filter of me, and I just don't have the physicality or the kind of like there's something about Peter Falk that's so specific that's just not me. So it goes through my kind of lanky body and it becomes something else. But that was always a touchstone, at least some of those kinds of things. And those aspects of the character, like the messiness, the distractedness, the maybe some arrogance too, it's like written into a lot of it. And then, especially in those early episodes, writing in a lot of those kinds of gags and stuff like that. And then as the show has gone on, I feel like the writers have given me a little bit more space to find what those moments can be. And there's less, there's less of that written in, and now it's just part of who I am.
But hats off to you, because, it's so important when you're introducing a character on a long-running show that they not be like anyone else on this long-running show, right? And right. Watts isn't. And I guess there's no better one-word cue for an actor than to say Columbo. If you're looking for a note, that's such a specific note. So I see that now, boy, with eyes wide open. It should have been very obvious, but congrats. It works really well.
And to play off of Yannick and where he's quite clinical and rigid, and we see that like that precise laser kind of focus.
Yeah.
I like to be a little bit all over the place and shooting in different directions. So it's always playing antithesis to him. And obviously, as the seasons have gone on, the two characters have gotten used to working with each other, so they kind of balance each other. But I often go back to that first episode and try to remember, like, oh yeah, I've got to kind of like ruffle some feathers too.
It's perfect. You want a little bit of grit in there, right? It works really well. Yeah. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Daniel Maslany. Hey there, sports fans. Join me for a nostalgic journey through sports history with a special Rio TV screening, Glory Days, a TV on film party event at the Westdale. Immerse yourself in the exhilarating triumph of 2 Toronto Maple Leafs Stanley Cup victories. Yes, you heard me. The Toronto Maple Leafs used to win Stanley Cups. Yeah, I know, it was a long time ago, but these films from 1962 and 67, they're in color, and yes, they're talkies. But the excitement doesn't stop there. Delve into the captivating world of 60s and 70s sports with a curated selection of reels from baseball, basketball, hockey, boxing, all kinds of highlights. See what all the fuss was about with the 1973 Battle of the Sexes match between tennis legend Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. And we've also got some highlights from Battle of the Network Stars. Plus, win cool prizes by answering TV sports questions. Come on down to the Glory Days of Sports at the TV on Film Party, Wednesday, April 10, 1 p.m. at the Westdale. For tickets, visit thewestdale.ca. Here we are again with Sweet Emily Gagne from Hollywood Suite. Emily, do you like your new nickname?
I love it, Bill.
All right, what do you got for us this month on Hollywood Suite?
Well, we've got some sweet offerings for you.
Nice.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
I particularly like the Women in Film collection that we have. It's Women's History Month, so we always like to celebrate with some historic achievements by women in film. So we've got films like Private Benjamin, which was written by Nancy Myers. We've got Ishtar, which I've mentioned before on this ad space.
Yeah.
We've got Cemetery. We have some Barbara Streisand directed content. The Mirror Has Two Faces. The Holiday. You name it, we probably got it this month for Women in Film.
Very good. And you've got an exciting new documentary too, I hear.
Yes, it's called Nuked. And if you loved Oppenheimer and learning more about the bomb and how it was made, now you can watch this film, which talks about the indigenous populations that were affected by the aftermath of the bomb. So it's a really good complement to the award season front runner.
Well, I don't want to tell Hollywood Suite what to program here, but you should pair that with Dr. Strangelove and perhaps just Blow Up, just because of the title, right?
Yes. There's lots of options for the
All right. There you got it. That's what you're seeing this month. Lots of great films by women directors and stars on Hollywood Suite. Emily, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Bill.
Here he is again, Daniel Maslany. Now, take us back. Are you from Regina originally?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right in the center of Canada, marvelous city. People that I know from there are very proud of Regina. You grew up a Rough Rider fan. What was were you all in on Regina?
I mean, you have to bleed green. Yeah. But, I went to some games. I'm not a huge football fan, but you have to be. And there's a lot of pride within the prairies and within the theater community there that I was a part of, of being a theater artist in Saskatchewan. And a lot of people who I worked with when I lived there have continued to build that community. And we lost our tax credit, our film tax credit. So a lot of the film industry evaporated quite a few years ago, and that was devastating to a lot of the crew, and a lot of people moved away. But things are coming back there, and the theater community is vibrant, and yeah.
See, I remember this. I mean, Corner Gas shot in Saskatchewan, and I remember being on a trip there, and they were doing a Corner Gas movie, Brent Butt and everybody. And they were literally, there was tours to the grain elevator where the original town was, and it was quite an industry. But they had lost these tax credits. And it was devastating because they had built, and you know more about this, a beautiful studio there that was suddenly empty. And everybody was now shooting in Winnipeg, or Manitoba got aggressive with their tax credits. And you saw just how critical it is that provincial governments step up, because it migrates people like crazy if there isn't that support, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, Corner Gas was huge. There was a series called RenegadePress.com. There was a series for young people where kids actually wrote stories and sent them in, called Incredible Story Studio, and then they would make them into 15-minute episodes. That was huge for the emerging actor community there, young people.
There was people who submitted scripts for that series, Story Studio, that have gone on to do very well, right? I'm trying to think.
Is that? Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was quite a starting point. What was your own path? Did you have theater arts in your school? I think you studied some improv out there as well, right?
Yeah. Improv was a huge kind of fundamental thing for me, and building the kind of artist that I wanted to be, and a lot of creation-based theater at the Globe Theater in Regina. So lot of collective creation, a lot of improv. That was where I came from. And I really, I sort of studied the classics and stuff and did the Midsummer Night's Dream and some, of that stuff. But I really have always preferred like new work and new plays and things like that. That's just kind of stuff that excites me.
Who did you play in Midsummer Night's Dream?
I played Demetrius. I was thinking about this the other day. I got a really bad review for that. The reviewer called me bland at the beginning of the play. And I feel like I was thinking about it because I was like, I think I'm running from that note, from that review, like my whole life, my whole career now. It's like, do not be bland. It's my number one fear. It was the second professional play I'd ever done. And it's like it's kind of the worst thing you can be, is bland. It was terrifying.
But good for you to take that and turn it into, I'll show them, right? That's the way to go.
Yeah. What ends up happening is now the risk is Daniel goes over the top. And this is the balance I'm always trying to strike, I think, is one or the other.
Well, if you're going to do it in the musical episode.
Sure.
I was really impressed. There's some harmonizing going on between William Murdoch and Julia in particular. Those two actors, my goodness, they sang well together, didn't they?
Yeah. I haven't seen the final version of the episode, but I've heard recordings and I would sneak into rehearsals and watch people. But I'm really excited. I get to watch it on Monday for the first time.
Yeah. Well, do you usually wait until it airs? Is that when you watch?
I do. It's rare that I ever can see the episodes in advance. I think I did an interview once and I wanted to see sort of what made it into the episode to chat about it, but I didn't get to this time. And I'm kind of excited because we get to watch it in a theater.
Oh, cool. They're having a screening. Yeah, fantastic.
At the Royal in Toronto. And they're
lovely.
Giving away tickets right now to fans.
Were you at the recent performance at the Roy Thompson when they had the musical?
No, I had to miss it. I've missed both symphony episodes, but I heard it was amazing.
Yeah, like for people listening, there's been just recently in Toronto a performance where they have an orchestra plays the theme live while you're watching an episode on the big screen. I've seen an episode or two of Murdoch on a big screen, and it really stands up. The detail and the sets and everything look fantastic.
Yeah, great.
And what really shows to great advantage on this episode is this back lot that you have to play in. Your playpen is fairly large, and all these buildings was supposedly Toronto is sort of warehouse district somewhere off the Don Valley. And boy, it looks great. It looks like it adds so much to the richness of the show. It looks like a scenes from Oliver, the musical or something, that you have the depth of these buildings, right?
Yes. Yeah. And those those big camera movements. I mean, I think they had cranes on this episode more than we usually do. And it really shows off the back lot and just how dynamic that space is. And they've been reconfiguring that space and continue to build further and further into the back lot each year. So there's always new surprises of what new areas we have to play in. But they've certainly used that outdoor space a lot. And we were fighting weather unbelievably. It was super sunny. It was snowing some days. That's
funny. Wow.
It was all over the place. Trying to remember when we shot it, but it was, obviously Toronto's just all over the place.
Yeah, it has been a weird year for weather. And you're right about the crane shots. There's one, Johnny has a really, really cool one. Won't tell people exactly about it, but it reminded me of John Candy getting his crane shot on SCTV when he was Johnny LaRue. But some of these songs, it's just, it's very, very, what era of theater are we talking here? It reminded me of, Broadway more in the 70s or 80s, right?
Okay. Yeah. I wish I knew more about my musical theater history, but I grew up listening to Cats and Jesus Christ Superstar and Oliver and Les Mis. So those were sort of touchstones for me. And obviously there's a bit of Oliver in the clip that's already been released online, which is I think the first like 3 minutes of the episode is very sort of Oliver feel of all the townspeople.
Well, that's a pretty good blueprint. I collect film, Daniel. I have 16 millimeter film, and I've just moved, and believe me, it's the wrong thing to be a hobby in because it weighs a lot. But I've moved all these reels of film here.
Oh, wow.
And I have a print of Oliver, the late 60s musical. And that is, I think it won Best Picture, but it's a tremendous film. And the singing in it is very good. Ron Moody and everybody. So pretty good film to watch. Do you have a favorite movie musical?
Favorite movie musical? You know what? Am I going to get the name wrong? Annette? Is it called Annette? The music was by Sparks, that like weird duo from the States that everybody thought was British. I watched a documentary about them recently.
Okay.
I think everybody, thought that they were brothers. Anyways, weird duo. Adam Brody.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. From the OC.
No, wait, I'm getting it wrong. Adam Driver.
Okay.
And Marion Cotillard they're both in it, and it's like. Annette is this little girl that's played by a puppet in it. It's so strange. It's like a very surreal, very, very surreal new musical it's only been on film. There's no stage version of it.
I'm going to have to look that up. When you say Annette, this is how old I am, Daniel. I'm thinking, what musical was Annette Funicello in? Oh, Babes in Toyland.
Okay. I hope I'm getting the name right. I think it's on Prime, and yeah.
Okay, we'll check it out. And all this sort of started, I think, for me when Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, did a musical episode. I don't know, 20 years ago. Suddenly, a series that lasted into a certain age, they were running out of ideas, and this is sort of where it lands. I think. There's been Gilmore Girls did one. Glee, of course, did one every week. If you were going to choose a series that should do a musical episode, what would be the one? What would be the fantasy one for you?
I mean, this is it. Like, I think the reason it works for Murdoch is because I actually don't think it's about running out of ideas. I think it's about cementing a standard of what an audience expects. So this season we've done the Treehouse of Horrors kind of spoof, not spoof, but like Treehouse of Horrors for real as Murdoch, which was fully doing all these different horror vignettes. And we did an adventure kind of Indiana Jones episode, and we did, they've done like a film noir episode the previous year. I think it's like a band that's been together for 15 years does an experimental electronic album or does a country album. It's like you have to. You're playing with the same people for so long, you start to get excited about, what if we did what we do, but in a totally different lane? And I think that's why it works. It's like, we all know who these characters are now and what to expect. What if we did it in this genre? And coming from improv, especially, it's like genre was huge in the Canadian improv games. The style event, it was called, where high school students would do 4-minute scenes in different styles, and so you would learn about the style and learn about all the different things, and then figure out how you could improvise a story within that style. And it's just like such an exciting way of telling stories, because you can tell any story through any kind of style.
Yeah, and the beauty of Murdoch too, since it's rooted in history, is you keep encountering, bisecting real people. One of my favorite episodes was the one that you have Chaplin and Stan Laurel and all these great comedians on. You must learn some history just making this series, right? And it's very intuitive, ingenious the way that it's woven into the storylines.
Totally. The danger is they also have invented the internet and have invented so many things. Right. I can't tell what's anachronistic and what's real now. So my idea of history is kind of like, it's like the Murdoch Mysteries version, which is kind of all over the place.
They invented the Frisbee on Murdoch Mysteries, right? Which I don't know.
And everyone's come to Toronto.
Yeah, right. You're right. And even if they don't look like Mark Twain, was it William Shatner? Did he play Twain? But he just,
right.
I don't think he even put on a mustache. The electric car, though, was around in 1910. Like it was based on some truth. Stan Laurel did come to Toronto. I mean,
okay.
You know, there was, it's based on something. So, but it is wonderful to see people like Helene Joy. She seems to be so at home in that singing. I think she was probably one of the people who lobbied hardest for this to happen, right?
She was pushing for it for a long time. She has an amazing voice. I remember the first, we have very little crossover in the episode, but when I first heard her singing on set with the track playing, and then she was like singing over top of it. It was amazing. Her voice sounds incredible. And I'm allowed to say that the soundtrack is going to be streaming April 8th. It's coming out on streaming. So it's going to air. This episode is going to air in the States, and then it'll be available worldwide, apparently, for people to listen to the soundtrack. So you can listen to Helene singing these songs all the time.
Yeah, no, I did get that note that you can actually, fans of the show can download and listen to all of these songs. And there's, I don't know how many, but they're pretty good. And some of them, there's a variation based on the theme of Murdoch Mysteries, but with words, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is a lot of fun. Okay, well, listen, congrats on that. It's very cool. It's going to be Monday night. Is this something you could see doing every year? Would you be open to a musical every season?
I mean, I guess so. I think the show is going to probably keep exploring genre if they I think it just makes sense because we've seen these characters for so long and we're excited to see them in different worlds, kind of.
The other cool thing about this episode is you bring a character back that Colin Mockery plays. Don't want to give too much away, but he is the guest star on this episode, right?
That's right, yeah.
And it was kind of an ingenious twist. Has there been guest stars that you've been particularly excited about working with over your 7-8 years on the show?
So it's funny you mentioned Colin because so I grew up doing improv. I grew up watching Whose Line. He was like my idol. Those guys were amazing, and I would invite kids over to my birthday party and make them do improv games with me, and like was just totally doing impressions of Colin Mockery. Just wanted to be him completely, and I got to interrogate him on the show. We've had a few crossover scenes, and it's like a dream. It's such a wild thing that I get to work with him.
When I used to write and cover television for the Toronto Sun, for the TV column, was there for several years, and I have a son, Daniel, who's about your age, a little bit, maybe a year or two younger, and the beauty of Whose Line was it was a show you could watch with the whole family. And Dan and I would watch this thing all the time, and both of us laugh just as hard all the time. Yeah. And I wrote that at the Sun, and I got an email from Colin Mockery, who I'd never met, out of the blue, saying, thank you for saying that, because a lot of critics miss that about our show, that we're entertaining everybody. And I always thought very well of him. I mean, obviously it's flattering to get a note from somebody like that, but that he would take the time to do that, I thought was pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah. And especially with comedy, because it can lean quite, like the rules of like what makes people laugh can lean quite crass and shock humor, but they wrote this line that was kind of perfect for everyone. And it's why so many kids grew up watching it. I think similarly to Murdoch, it's like, it's playful and fun enough, but also quite smart. Yeah. Like watching people improvise, you have to be really intelligent to tell stories that way. And Murdoch, similar. It's like playful, but intelligent. So I feel like it reaches this wide demographic.
And it's still on the air, Daniel.
You're right. Yes.
I think they taped a whole bunch of stuff in 2019 and they've just found other ways to keep editing it. But as long as Colin's getting another check out of it, I'm all for that. It is a fun show. And I watch now and then. One of the funniest things I've ever seen, and I just watched it the other day on my phone, was the episode where Richard Simmons guest starred on Whose Line.
Oh, no way.
Oh, my goodness. Please check that out on YouTube. It is jaw-droppingly funny. And
that's great.
You'll watch, the host at the time was Drew Carey, and he can barely breathe. He's laughing so hard. It's And Mockery makes the whole thing happen. He's brilliant. He just really can seize the day.
Oh, cool.
More with Daniel after these short messages. What's new on Paramount Plus? Meet a Gentleman in Moscow, premiering exclusively on the streaming service at the end of March. Based on a best-selling novel, the series stars Ewan McGregor as Count Alexander Rostov. The good news, he's spared immediate execution in the aftermath of the Russian Revolution. The bad news, however, he's banished to an attic room in the opulent Hotel Metropole, threatened with death if he ever sets foot outside again. So what's a comrade to do? Rostov enters a whole new world of emotional discovery where he gradually learns the true value of friendship, family, and love. Mary Elizabeth Winstead also stars as glamorous actress Anna Urbanova. And remember, there's a mountain of premium entertainment for audiences of all ages, including programming from Showtime, BET, CBS, Comedy Central, MTV, Nickelodeon, Paramount Pictures, and the Smithsonian Channel, all on Paramount Plus. What's new this month on Super Channel? Well, if you're looking for the next big, frothy family drama, check out Prosper, an Aussie-Brit hour-long serial premiering March 24th on Super Channel Fuse. Prosper follows the Quins, the founding family behind one of the fastest-growing megachurches in the world, U-Star, based in Sydney, Australia. Poised on the precipice of a lucrative American expansion, the family, hell-bent on global domination, both work, right, is about to catapult into a whole new stratosphere of wealth and unchecked power. But behind closed doors, the Quins are a family protecting shameful secrets, all while preaching a message of faith, love, and acceptance for the many thousands of followers. This is a study of a damaged family inextricably bound together while tearing themselves apart. And remember, Super Channel, an all-Canadian service, is available via most cable providers across the country, as well as streaming live and on-demand with Amazon Prime Video channels and Apple TV+. You can also check out the new streaming channel Super Channel Plus, available now on the Roku platform in Canada. We're back. Name some of the other things you've been involved with. I know that you've been involved in other shows that Shaftesbury has made, right? You've guest starred as the character even.
Right. I got to do an episode of Hudson and Rex. My wife was actually in that episode too, so we both got to go out there, and it was so much fun. It was such a welcoming set, and Shaftesbury is such a family here. You know, there's a lot of. Obviously, Sharon Matthews is in the musical episode, and she pops up in many of their shows. And
nice, yeah. That's very, very exciting. Good for you guys. Very cool. All right, and now I want to anything else about what was your first experience on television. What was your first gig? When were you still in Regina? Did you move to Toronto?
Yeah.
What was your path?
It was probably like it might have been a short film called Blueberry by a filmmaker called Brett Bell. It's like this black and white kind of circular time abstract, very, very, it was a strange little piece. It was such an exciting thing for me to be a part of because it was not literal. It was not a narrative in a literal way. It was sort of like time was bending I'd actually like to watch it again because right now I have like my dream impression of when I was a kid doing it, which was quite bizarre. And now I'd like to do it again. But yeah, an interesting short film.
You mentioned the Columbo reference for your character. Did you watch Poker Face at all?
No.
Okay. Do you know what I'm referring to? There's a series that streams, and Natasha Leone plays this character, and it's kind of a revival of Columbo.
No way.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Check it out. I'm not sure if it's Netflix or who carries it, but she is very much leaning heavily on Columbo for that.
I could totally see her doing it. That's great.
It's pretty funny. All right. Now, we won't, I don't think we want to give anything else away about this episode. And how many Murdochs did you do? 18 this season? What was the order?
Total, they did 24 episodes. I was sort of in and out. I know it's wild. It's huge.
Wow. That's amazing.
24 for 3 years now. I was sort of would pop in and out, but it's incredible. There's very few shows that do that many episodes now.
Yeah, not even in the States. That's amazing. And of course, it shows all over the world. It's exported in 120 odd markets internationally. Have you ever seen an episode of Murdoch that's in a foreign language?
No, I'd love to. I really want to hear what the voices sound like.
Right, eh?
I mean, my Watts voice has changed so many times over the years. Because I feel different about the character, or I wear the character differently over the years, and I'd like to hear if they're as inconsistently consistent as I am.
Were you able to sort of choose your wardrobe when you became the character, or did they have the guy kind of already sketched out?
I mean, yeah, you go for wardrobe fittings. I'm usually, what I love about Joanna, who's our wardrobe designer now, wasn't when I started on the show. But I love just seeing what somebody's impression is, because I have my idea of what I like to wear, and it's so specific to myself. And when somebody puts me in clothes that feel totally different than me, it really allows me to kind of forget about myself and maybe embrace a different thing. But I feel like I have leaned into so many Watts type pieces of clothing since working on the show. I gravitate to a lot of the same things now that she's put me in, which is amazing. A lot of the plaids and stuff like that.
Yeah. And for this musical episode, was there a choreographer for the dance numbers?
Yes. Tim was our choreographer, was incredible and was really great at making the dancing and the movements understandable for actors. I've been a reader for musical auditions, and I see these incredible triple threat musical theater performers come in who know what their range is, who know what their dance ability is in all these different styles of dance. And there's so much skill and talent and rigor to it. And as an actor, it sometimes feels way more abstract and way more kind of oh, well, I kind of like these things, and I like these characters. It's a little bit, I can't name what I do in my skill level. But anyways, all that to say, Tim made it so accessible for us to understand the energy of what we're doing and the kind of the purpose or the motivation of why we're moving this way, which made it way more playable than if you're well, I have to do these steps correct on this time,
Yeah. The camera just seems to find everybody. I've noticed in this episode.
Yeah.
Like just as that moment comes when they have their bit of soft shoe or song comes in, it works really, really well. And again, there's that wonderful quality on that outdoor scenes where there's 5 or 6 of you interacting like that in musical scenes. It's really quite remarkable.
I mean, it's amazing. We were doing our choreo, or I was doing the kind of choreography I was doing. And then I would turn and see we had incredible guest musical theater performers, dancers, some gymnasts, I think, and like incredible singers.
Yeah.
And I would turn around and see what they've been doing right next to me. And it's like, it's wild. It's so much heightened, but it makes the whole room, makes it look like we're all doing that.
It looks like the chimney sweep scene from Mary Poppins at one point, right? It's that choreographed. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, hats off. Congrats again. It's a fantastic episode. A lot of fun to watch. Now, Daniel, we're going to ask a couple of questions about television. Do you watch a lot? Do you have a chance to watch TV these days?
I do. I've been in a bit of like a more of like a movie stage right now, but I do love TV. I watch a lot of TV too.
What's your favorite? What are you watching right now or streaming?
So I think my favorite thing that I watched this year was The Curse. It's probably the best TV. It's just incredible.
Wow. Okay.
It's such a good tone. Such great performances, like unlike anything else on TV. It's got it builds to an amazing ending. I think everybody should watch The Curse. So
where do you find it?
That's the tricky thing. I think it's like a Paramount Plus addition to Prime. But look it up, The Curse.
I should know this. Who would? And I haven't. Often I steer the horror stuff. I'm scared of them, Daniel. I'm sorry, but
it's okay. You don't have to be scared of this. It's maybe more the horror of people's awkward social interactions with each other and performances of being a good person. It's actually maybe more horrific because it's like way more personal. It's incredible. And then the other thing was on Crave, the dessert. Show. Have you watched it?
Yes, I have seen that. Yeah, it's very good.
Absolutely bonkers. And they just did their like St. Patrick's Day special, which I just watched. That style of humor and that kind of like absurdity I find so funny. And I think they're doing like such exciting work. I'm so happy that's happening in Canada. Yeah,
that is pretty cool. Do you think this is a good time creatively then for Canadian television?
Totally. I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's been a tricky time because it's like, obviously COVID really slowed things down and it was hard for smaller kind of productions to start up without like, with testing and everything. And then the strike happened and that really impacted like our connection to the States. So I think we're going to kind of burst out of this though in an exciting way. All these stories that people have been waiting to tell and all these kinds of things to explore.
You must feel fortunate that you were on a long running show shot in Canada through these times,
It's incredible. Like, I guess we were maybe the second or third show back during the pandemic. And it was, such a privilege to be working through the pandemic and through the strike. It's wild. Yeah.
There was, I guess, several shows where there were guys with tape measures making sure you were 4 feet away and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember thinking, we're not going to be able to do this. We're going to have to be like, outside all the time and far away. And we found a way to do it safely. And it was great.
And talk a bit about your lead, Yannick. He, to me, a remarkable career and audiences never tire of him. But as the number one, as a leader, what do you feel he brings to the show that maybe the rest of us wouldn't know,
Oh my gosh, so much. Like he's so aware of the way the show gets put together and the pieces that you need while shooting a scene. So he's aware of how it's going to be the easiest way to make this gag happen. Like he's so up for all of the comedy bits that we try to like craft in the show. He also knows what works for all of the characters. So even though so often he gets to play straight man against like all the goofy people who come in. He's often crafting those moments by going like, well, what if you just waited a beat? And then when I turn, you can do that. Like he also knows it. I mean, he's just like Murdoch because he knows it as a science. I'm really bad with that stuff. Like the rhythm and the kind of like the calculation of it is like lost on me. I'm a little bit more it's probably like Watts a little bit sloppier with it, but he is like so specific and so creates these like little physical gags that are so specific because he knows how it all goes together.
Yeah, he really seems to understand the relationship between the camera lens and the actor, doesn't he?
Totally.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch. Now, when you were a youngster growing up, perhaps in Regina, what was the show that you used to race home from school to see, or that you just have fond memories for?
I mean, I remember watching Goosebumps. You said you're afraid of horror, but that one scared me.
Yeah.
I was also like really scared. I found scary stuff kind of like really exciting, but also I hated it. Like I would never go into a haunted house.
Yeah.
But I would build them for. I made my friends do improv at my birthdays, and I made them walk through a self-made haunted house in the basement. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Because I think it was just like a kind of theater. It was like all performance, you know. But
what was it made out of?
It would be like I don't know. I would print out like a scary image and put it somewhere, or like Halloween decoration kind of things. I mean, it probably was horrible, but in my mind, it was really exciting. You know,
it's supposed to be horrible. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I can relate to this. As a kid, they used to have Aurora models. I think they were Aurora of Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman, and you would cement them together with glue that now would get you high, or did probably back then. And then you painted them, and I remember you'd turn out the lights and you'd be wandering around these things. It's fun to create those environments, right?
Yeah. Wait, so what, it was made out of what?
Well, these were little models. They were sort of the size of, like I'm holding up a drink flask thing here. You know, they were maybe 10 inches high, and they were of the Frankenstein monster or the Wolfman, or right?
Were they like a cardboard kind of thing?
These were actually plastic. You were like, it was sort of like you would assemble them like a car or a boat or a plane, and glue them together and paint them. And this was going back a ways. I don't know but they probably had paper ones later.
I had the paper ones.
Okay, there you go.
They were probably not as good because they didn't get you high off the fumes. they would always fall apart though. Like Frankenstein's head would like split open because it didn't stick together. Needed plastic. Well,
the glue helped with that part. You're right. It seemed to split open, even though it didn't really. That's hilarious. Yeah, well, good for you. Kip, you had this imagination. Were your parents all in when you expressed an interest in acting? Did they look at this with some skepticism, or how did they feel?
They were so encouraging. Like my dad did community theater growing up, and my mom was famously Rebecca Nurse in The Crucible in high school.
Wow.
And they love theater and the arts. Recently, a bunch of our VHS tapes from when we were kids were
transferred,
digitized. Yeah. And I was watching some of it with my wife, and she was like, "You have undivided attention in these videos." Like they would be filming us dancing around it's like an hour and a half tape of just that. And so that, I think all of that attention had probably created a bit of an ego monster, but it also like it told us that like it's okay to I don't know, perform and stuff, and that's probably why we, all three of us, my sister, me, and my brother, all went into the arts. My brother was acting, but now he's an animator. But yeah, it's just like it was always around in the house.
He's an animator on anything that we would know?
Tons of stuff. I'm trying to think of what he's like Rick and Morty was a really big one.
Oh my goodness,
working on, and he's been working on a bunch of stuff. It's something that I think I can't talk about right now. But
exciting! All right, next time. Okay, now the biggie is: do you have a favorite all-time TV theme song?
Yeah. Okay. So first off, the Goosebumps theme song is great.
Yeah.
That's a classic with the dog barking and to sing along. That one's very good. But then there's also the Vow, that HBO series about Nexium, had a song in it called Dream State by Sun Lux. I really love that song. I like the version that they use at the beginning of the show for the theme song, but the original that the band did like on their album, it's called Dream State. It's so good. They're such an incredible band. It's a little bit, the album version's a little bit more kind of like aggressive than the TV version.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you have it. All right. Well, we won't ask you to sing it, so that probably
right. Yeah.
Or bark it, or yeah. Listen, Daniel.
I could get Jono in here to tune my voice. Maybe that's what I need.
That must be pretty cool.
Incredible.
Yeah. To hear yourself singing back in such a flawless way. We all want one of these in the shower.
For sure.
Well, don't miss this episode. And if you're listening to this podcast after it airs, you can stream it on CBCGem. And there's still a few more episodes to go this season before Murdoch, I guess, what are you, year 17 or 18 now for the show?
17, yeah.
Incredible. It just seems to be a show that Canadians love, and all of you guys are doing a great job. I think you're... Detective Watts really re-energized the series. It just gave it another feather, another flavor. And so hats off to you for a great performance on it. Yeah, it's terrific.
Thanks.
Listen, Daniel, great to meet you. And you guys have finished shooting for the season, I assume?
Yes, yeah. I mean, with the 24 episode order, it was like three months off between shooting. So it's not that long. But yeah, we'll see what the future holds. But it was a long stint, especially for everybody who's in like every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you try to work in another project in that gap, or do you take some time off?
I do. No, I've throughout the season, I was able to do some other work and now too. And so, yeah, it's been good. It's a nice, like, I mean, what's incredible about the show is actually how much of the Toronto acting community I get to meet, because we have incredible guests all the time who come in and have to like really carry the show. They're the dramatic, anchor, and they're the new element that is going to be exciting about each episode. And so I feel so much more connected to our community, our theater community, through our guest stars, which are incredible.
Peter Callahan's on a lot, and all kinds of other folks, right? It's a great repertoire company. Listen, Daniel, thank you so much for your time today. Congrats, and looking forward to seeing this again on Monday night. And have fun at the screening.
Thank you so much. So great to chat with you.
You too. Take care. Thanks to producer Phil Hong, who makes every episode sing here at Brio TV, the podcast. And speaking of singing, give it up to BJ Del Conte, Paul Boudra, and all the Crispy Critters, as well as piano man Stephen Dudley, for all the music you hear on this podcast. I want to thank as well Ian Christensen at Shaftesbury for setting up the interview. Now, if you enjoy the conversation, let us know with a like or a comment at Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Bill Brio. Thanks for listening.